Hey, yo. No, man. Yo, I got back, I'm playing Sekiro to get the platinum. I never fought, and he kicked my ass so much. It was so bad, man. Oh, God. All right, let's go through here. Let me
So you're
get
gonna
this.
try and get that platinum before Elden Ring then?
Yes, sir.
Nice, nice.
On what, Sekiro?
Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Is it as grindy as Bloodborne was with the what was it called? The Chalice dungeons?
The chalice? Say to the same level, but it does have a grindy trophy, like for sure. It like with Bloodborne, it was more so for like to get certain specific dungeons, and like just get through them as fast as possible, depending on how you're feeling. But with this one, you have a skill tree that you need to really grind to get skill points for. So it's more so of if you want, go through the New Game Plus to get more experience, or just grind away on specific spots late game. Either way, either way depends on your taste on how to approach it, but it's grindy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
grindy. And check the name. Sound check, y'all. Dance, dance.
Oh, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
we're live then. We're
Yes,
live.
sir. Yeah,
Okay.
whoever wants to check.
Yeah, I'll go link it out. Walt and Gene just make sure we get sound. We should be good from last time, but just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
We should be good.
Okay, so far so good. Gene, can you talk a little bit there about GTA?
Yeah, so I had some problem playing the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, and I actually had to stop mission they couldn't move forward on. I just kind of thought that I wasn't in my car when I was. And so you need to be in a ride to move forward in this bubble, but I was in the car. And I couldn't fix it, so then I just stopped and gave up and moved over to Vice City.
Gene, did
And it was
anyone at Lognet review it?
no.
Okay.
There's no point. It's Grand Theft Auto.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That should be the review. It's Grand Theft Auto. And by the way, everything sounds good so far. Everything sounds good.
Okay. Cool. So Macho didn't even have to leave then.
Macho, no, I mean Macho also sounded good.
Oh, okay. God, I'm
Let's go to
thinking about what I have to do for this thumbnail. Uh,
just a scene from Civil War, from the movie Civil War.
and what, put like
And put
Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer on the other side?
no, just put it's something like with Twitter on one side, but then on the other side, I don't know what you should put. Just like everyone. I don't know. 'Cause Twitter's going off. But yeah, put Phil Spencer versus Twitter. I don't know.
Oh
All right,
man.
we
Yep.
should be good. Tweet it out.
Okay.
Sweet.
And
How do we sound,
Macho,
Walt?
Sounds good.
this is episode 45, correct?
This is number 45.
Okay.
Damn. Yeah, but everything sounds good, man.
All right.
Sweet.
All right. Guys, welcome back to the 45th episode of the DualShock Sense Podcast. I am your host, Soul, the connoisseur of anime waifus. Joined as always by my two co-hosts. I got Macho. How you doing, man?
How's it going, everybody? It's the King of Kingdom Hearts and the Final Fantasy Fanatic coming back again. This is going to be an exciting episode, isn't it, Soul?
Yeah. Although, although I'm curious, like, because I feel like I've said all that I've had to say on this subject, but I'm really gonna be leaning on Walt to bring a different perspective on this one, because I really don't want to rehash the same stuff that we spent 50 minutes on the last pseudo podcast talking about. But nonetheless, I'm excited to hear what Walt has to say on this subject, because I honestly don't know what he thinks about this, so I'm definitely excited about that. But yeah, man, Walt, how you been, man? Give us your little manga whatever intro. Go ahead.
Manga, you put some respect to that name, Manga Maniac, sir. Doing pretty good, man. Yeah, I wasn't there for the impromptu episode this week. I heard some of y'all's takes, and and someone else returning. We'll get to
Wait a
that.
second. Wait a second. You
uh.
you only heard some of it? You telling me
Yeah, man.
you didn't
'Cause here's
listen?
the thing.
You didn't
No, here's the
support
thing.
you didn't support your fellow podcast members and listen to the whole thing?
I listened to like I was halfway and then I
you
got
fell
off
asleep?
work. No, yeah, no, because I got off work and I was tired of work and I was listening. And the next day I forgot that was the thing, and because I was just staying off the grid because Twitter was too toxic and I just didn't want any more media for the day.
Oh man, Macho, you hearing this?
Yeah, that's kind of wild, dude. I feel kind of offended.
I know, right?
A little bit.
God
I
damn.
think he's mostly talking about you, though, so I don't know. That's
Oh man. Okay, you're done. Wrap it. Let's wrap that up. We got
Move along.
we got a guest, a very special guest, making yet another return, man, because this is a very important topic that I need to pick his brain about, and that is Gene from lordsofgaming.net. How you doing, man?
All right, I'm in hot take diva mode. I am ready to go.
Oh man, here we go. So yeah, man, we definitely got a lot to talk about. Kind of the fallout of the whole Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. So yeah, we'll definitely get into that stuff. Sony's response. Phil Spencer apparently having a good call with leaders at Sony. All that stuff. But first, we're gonna kick things off with how we usually do, talking about the games that we've been playing this week. And you know what? I think I'll begin because I got a little bit of a plot twist for you guys. Yeah. So obviously,
What'd you buy? What'd you buy?
I didn't buy anything. Let's not get carried away. But if you guys have been listening to the podcast recently, you guys will know that I've been playing a little game called Dragon Age Inquisition, and I've had nothing but smoke and slander for it. But I am actually kind of digging it now. I'm still not the biggest fan of the combat, but the characters are actually kind of growing on me. And I think it really helps the fact that the last sort of like big story mission I played was sort of like the whole classic generic thing that like all I feel like fantasy stories have to do at some point, which is the whole ballroom like shit hits the fan at the ballroom party kind of like story beat thing. Macho, sort of like the Thanad Island banquet coup in the third Witcher book, right? Or how Joffrey dies at his own goddamn wedding in Game of Thrones, right? Like everything bad always happens at these big parties or balls or whatever, right?
The red wedding.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a similar thing. Obviously, nothing to like that scale, but it was a similar thing of like, okay, seeing these kind of cool characters in a setting that is obviously very awkward and foreign to them, right? Like they're not used to being in a party setting. So that within itself is pretty cool. But then there's also this whole quest of saving this empress from being assassinated while you're there. But then it turns into this thing of like, okay, you have to decide of like who you want to put in power. So like, do you let the empress get assassinated by her like jealous brother who wants to take over the empire? Then there's like this third party who's like an elf who has this really toxic, almost pseudo Game of Thrones fucked up relationship with the empress. Do you let her take over the empire? And she's an elf, so it's basically like this revolution, like putting the elves in power. And like all three of these options have like their pros and cons, and it was like a really, really difficult decision where like, okay, like the empress has her advantages, but she also has her disadvantages, right? She's been in control of this empire for a number of years, so it's basically maintaining the status quo, but she doesn't have the military smarts that her jealous brother does, right? And then the jealous brother obviously has his pros and cons. The elf, very same thing. Like she has her advantages and disadvantages. There's moral quandaries with any three of these options. So it was one of those things where like, I was sitting for a really long time, and I thought I knew a character, and at first I was like, okay, I'm obviously gonna put this character as the leader of this empire, but then like you get to know more about them, and I'm like, ooh, actually, I don't know anymore, right? So it was a really really interesting or not side quest, but main mission that kind of like, I don't know, it kind of like flipped my opinion on this entire game on its head, where I was like, man, like this is actually some really, really good stuff. I wish the rest of the game was like this. I still think the game is ugly to look at. Like the Frostbite engine just does not look good for this game, man. Like the lighting in these games are awful. Like there's characters in like should be fully lit rooms, right? Like they're in a goddamn like ball with crystal chandeliers, et cetera, and it's just like like all these characters look like they're like standing in the shade. It's so weird. A lot of characters have like googly eyes as well. Like I don't know, this game just does not look right. The environments look great, but like the people themselves just never look good. But yeah, man, I definitely had like an epiphany with this game last night where it was this mission actually took me like multiple days to finish. It was really long, but yeah, it was really enjoyable. And I'm actually kind of looking forward to like what comes next in this game, which is something I was not expecting. So yeah, that's the main game that got my focus this week. Whoever wants to take it from there, man, go ahead. Let's hear what you guys been playing.
Man. Dope. Yeah, I mean, I'll go next. So I've been kind of jumping around between games because right now I'm in the lull period where I'm really excited for Horizon. I'm really excited for Elden Ring, and that's all what I really keep thinking about. But I'm trying to finish some games in the backlog. So I've been going back and forth in between some games, but the main two games I've been playing this week have been 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, which is a branch off from last week, but and Alice Madness Returns, which is an oldie but a goodie.
Yes, sir.
And I would say Alice Madness Returns, it's definitely a little rough around the edges. The camera sucks. The lighting isn't good, but the thing is, it's such an old game that you kind of have to really, take it with a grain of salt when it comes to its release. And there's no remaster for it. There's really been no kind of, I guess, fan love. Like it has this cult following, but there's no really been like urge to like really get it remastered, stuff like that. So I'm playing it kind of at face value, and it's still like one of the most inventive and creative action platformers next to It Takes Two for me, and a couple. I would say like Mario Galaxy. It's just so much fun to actually play, and I love this twisted version of Wonderland. I've always kind of like really been a fan of a twist on fairy tale. So like The Witcher books, the short novels, for instance, like The Last Wish, really did a play on Snow White and Beauty and the Beast, which is like some of my favorite stories from that saga.
Yeah.
And Alice Madness Returns is just a completely twisted version of Wonderland, where like there's blood and gore, and like there's really like deep psychological issues with like the characters, including Alice herself. There's like really twisted versions of these characters that just look so ugly and disgusting, but it fits Wonderland because like Wonderland is such like a place that can be either super happy-go-lucky like you see in the Disney films, or it could be completely twisted like you see in this game. So it just does it in spades. The only one thing I'll say like that I'm noticing from the game upon replaying it is that the music is a little lackluster. Like this game could have really heightened up its really creepy, eerie sense of music. Like it's there, take advantage of it. And I don't know if that's probably because like a budget reason, or they put more into the level design and gameplay than they put into the music for this game. But either way, like it's like you hear like there's some really great themes in there, but there's also just like it's a lack of them, and I wish there's more. But yeah, Alice Madness Returns is like it's absolutely a gem. I wish they got more. It will get more love nowadays, so it can get a proper remaster or a sequel.
It's getting American McGee, the creator, he's been streaming every now and then his progress with the third game.
Yeah, I did see that. Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think it's Alice Asylum or something. I know it has to do where the general concept is instead of one set world, it. Yeah,
yeah. That's entire plot thread. That's entire plot device of it. Yeah,
she's exploring essentially other people's minds, not so much her own. Because right now this is her Wonderland, her inner struggles, her trauma. But this sequel will be more her exploring other situations and other victims, and and discover
sounds
more
cool.
about herself. No, it's let me tell you, dude. There's concept art, and it is outstanding.
Yeah, it looks incredible.
This guy's going above and beyond of making this a proper sequel. I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I never played Alice's American Geese, like the first Alice game, because I think that was like only PC only or something like that, and it's pretty archaic. But Madness Returns focus a lot on Alice's inner struggles and really unveiling her past of like what happened to her, what caused her to be what she is now, and it's a lot about exploring her psyche. So when she's visiting Wonderland, a lot of the characters like the Mad Hatter, the Rabbit, or the Caterpillar, are saying or like referencing Alice as like they know her because she's been there before. So it's a lot more about like treading old grounds. But the thing is with Alice is that she's basically just trying to uncover her psyche. So it gets really deep, and it's actually pretty crazy and outlandish. Like the story like won't you definitely it won't hold your hand. Like you actually have to like really think deeply about like what they're talking about and what they're referencing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Alice herself will remark on stuff in the world that is very dark. Like she has such inner struggles and such a tragic past in ways that she's been experienced these twisted wonderlands, to the point where if she sees like something horrible unveiled before her eyes, she will take it with a hint of humor, which is effed up, because then you'll see just how messed up her life has been, that to the point where she finds dark humor funny, or like
you get hints of that in Madness Returns, where like she would like take situations and that like even I'm just like holy crap, and then she's like oh well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like because she's like so strong like mentally that she can like take these things at face value and like turn them against themselves, so that she ends up winning her whatever battle she's doing. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. Like you look at Alice in this game, and you're like, man, she's actually kind of a badass. Like,
oh heck yeah.
She doesn't take shit, man.
She really doesn't. And I played the first American McGee's, the first Alice game, I think on Xbox. I don't know if it was on Game Pass or not, or I just bought it separately. I do not remember how I played it, but it is incredibly rough. Of course, it is the older of the two, but you could really see this man plant his seeds of like this very inventive world, and just where he was going to take it. You could very much see, wow, there's so much here that he can explore. And he nails a lot of things. There's a lot of good things in that game, but it's ultimately taken aback by, it's incredibly very, very old controls and arcade design, and just it's clunky as heck, man. It's so clunky. I died more because of clunkiness than because of difficulty. Kind of like Dark Souls, like the original Dark Souls or Demon Souls, where the controls are just ass.
Yeah, yeah. And Madness Returns is not really. It's not really indifferent. Like the lock-on sucks. The camera sucks. The best part about it is the platforming and
that Kingdom Hearts camera.
Let's not get too far.
My man, you cannot say the first Kingdom Hearts has like the worst camera in all of Kingdom Hearts.
I will not disagree, but I will not endorse that comment. Anyways, I've been also been playing 13. I've been also been playing 13 Sentinels of Aegis Rim, and
nice.
This game I've been playing slowly because it's absolutely that game that I want to take my time with and exploring its story, because this is a game that's for you, man. Like 100%.
I know, man. I know.
It's 100% for you, because like it borders on graphic novel, but the thing is you're doing a lot more interacting, so it's not like you're just really sitting there for like a minute or two without pressing a button. You're actually like sort of exploring and kind of choosing what to say, when to say it, and really unlocking different memories, different words to further your path in the story, and it's incredible.
The characters are pretty dope.
The characters are awesome, man. That they're so diverse and they're a lot of fun. They all have their own kinks, their own weaknesses, their own strengths. But what really stands them out is their connection to each other. And when you're going through each of the people's different perspectives or different stories, you get like little nuggets of information. Not enough to be like everything's like a big plot twist, because when that happens, it happens. But you're interested enough to just keep exploring every person's story. and it's actually really cool, man. Like I haven't figured it out like what's going on yet because I'm still early, like like maybe the first third of the game in terms of the story, but what's presented there is like I can't wait to like actually keep exploring every person's story to like unlock different things and see what's going on. And then that's not even including like the other half of this game, which is like the top-down strategy game that like it's more like turn-based than anything, but real-time turn-based strategy game, and it's a lot of fun. It's actually way more intense than I was expecting, and you can unlock different abilities for your sentinels and stuff like that. So it's really cool, man. This is definitely a game that's gonna be up your alley once you get around to playing it if you do.
Yeah, it's been on my wish list for a minute. I need to get to it.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it might be like $20 at GameStop or something like that now, but it goes on sale pretty frequently. So hopefully by the time you do get to it, you get a nice discount.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's it. That's what I've been playing.
Nice. Gene, why don't you go next? We'll let Walt go last.
Okay.
You trying to say something?
No, you're just trying to change it up,
All right. I was really excited to hear Walt.
Let's go.
Go ahead.
So I've been playing Nobody Saves the World by Drinkbox Studios. They're the people that made Guacamelee 2. That is right now. It's an Xbox console exclusive, and it's on Steam. It is. I did confirm with the developers it's a timed exclusive in Xbox Game Pass. So later this year, that's going to be coming out on PlayStation in some form. That is a top-down open world indie RPG with dungeons. And it's in a hand-drawn animated art style, very similar to Guacamelee if you've played those. And it's got a lot of humor in it, almost like a Earthworm Jim type of game. So it was really something that's up my alley. That has some. You just kind of play the game in an action-adventure type of game when you start out. And then right around halfway through the game, you really hit a wall, and you have to progress your abilities. And then as you progress your abilities, you level up. It's not like you kill something, get points, and then level up. There's loot, there's grind, but you have objectives. There's side quests, main objectives, and character objectives. And in Nobody Saves the World, I guess we'll probably go back to the beginning, you play as Nobody. And Nobody has the power to transform into one of 17 different characters, and they're hilarious. Like, one of them's a bodybuilder, one of them's a mouse, one of them's a magician. And, like, the magician will have the ability to pull rabbits out of his hat. And he also hits you with a deck of cards. I can then take that ability to pull rabbits out of a hat and give it to the mouse, or give it to the dungeon slayer, and you mix and match abilities with the characters that you unlock as you progress through the game. There's a knight, there's an archer. So once you unlock unlock the knight and archer early on, and then you have the ability for this sword attack and this ranged attack, and you can give that to anybody else. So once you progress through that, there's a good little story about who you are and how you got there and what happened. I really enjoyed that game. My review is up on lordsofgaming.net. It's probably on the front page. That came out on Tuesday. Then on Thursday, we had Windjammers 2 came out. My review is also up on lordsofgaming.net. That is, in every sense of the word, it's like Street Fighter 2. It's a true sequel to the 1994 Windjammers Neo Geo arcade game. There's no real campaign. There's just an arcade mode where you have 5 matches. There's not a ton of content in the game. However, the actual mechanics in the game are very deep, like a fighting game, and that's how it's kind of like Street Fighter 2. It's just, there's no story, no campaign, there's nothing to unlock. You just play the game. There's 15 different offensive attacks in Windjammers, and with that kind of becomes a more complex game. And I'm trying to get through my backlog because we have like 5 days left And really, honestly, I think the big wave of the spring games came this past week with Nobody Saves the World coming out and Windjammer's coming out, both of which are hitting Game Pass day one. Then this coming week you have Pokemon, and then I think there's like a week off, and then you have Horizon. When does Elden Ring come out?
After that,
it comes out the week after Horizon.
Yeah.
So then you have Horizon the second week of February, second or third week of February. It's the 18th, so that's probably like, I can't tell if that's Friday of the second week of February, but anyways, it's 18 days into February. Then you have Elden Ring the following week, and then I feel like there's something in between Elden Ring and Gran Turismo, but then that first week of March you have Gran Turismo and something else. Gran Turismo comes out on the 4th. I don't remember what comes out on the 3rd. Something comes out on the 3rd. I'll have to pull up the list in front of me here. But it's going to get really busy for people who play all the games that come out over the next probably 60 days.
You're forgetting one that's going to take you 5 hours to 100% complete. Dying Light 2.
Oh my god.
That comes out like literally the first week of February.
Could you never? I don't. If Dying Light 2 is an Xbox Game Pass, I will play it because I'm subscribed to Xbox Game Pass and I just try everything that comes out. I have no idea if it is or not. Dying Light 2 is totally off my radar, but it can stumble into my radar through reviews. Through influencers, I'm open. But as soon as you put out a tweet that my game is 500 hours long, I'm done. I'm not playing your game. We're done. I don't want 500-hour games. I'm not the type of person like I think it's David Jaffe or Sean Layden is saying these 40-hour games can't last forever. I feel like that's the perfect time for a game like that. Open world action adventure RPG. 40 hours is like, I think that's tremendous value. As a reviewer with like 3 or 4 days to review the game, that's a goddamn nightmare. But there's tremendous value in that, and I am almost disappointed when a game is 7 or 8 hours. But at 500 hours, I mean, come on. Even if I think they came back and were like, oh, well, the actual game is like 80 hours. Even at that, like, screw off. I'm all set. I'm good.
No,
I saw that too, and I was like, oh man.
They clarified it.
It's like 40.
Yeah, it was like 40 or something like that. They clarified it, but yeah, it was a very the first one was an incredibly stupid tweet to make.
Yeah, because I think they even specified that in like 500 means like every dialogue, like every single nook and cranny of the game, like 100%. When you say every dialogue, the game just has some padding that probably you're gonna feel like it shouldn't be there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So Sifu comes out in between.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Pokemon and
no, it comes out after Dying Light.
After Dying Light and then before Horizon, Destiny, the Witch Queen is in there before Elden Ring. Elden Ring's on the 25th. Babylon's Fall was the game I couldn't think of. Babylon's Fall is coming out I knew there was something I really wanted to play coming out on the 3rd.
Ew.
Is that
I was about to ask, wow, you really want to play it?
I find it interesting.
Okay.
Platinum games is interesting in general, so I understand.
Good luck with that.
I might be busy. It's a huge waste of money because you're buying Gran Turismo like literally the next day. Am I going to even spend? If I pick up Babylon's Fall at noon on the 3rd, how long am I really going to have to play the game? It's Platinum. I find Platinum so fascinating, and like I don't want to read people's impressions about this game. I might even request a review code or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're probably looking for people to play it, so
honestly,
you have a good shot.
I should review that.
Man, I'm really scared about that game.
Nothing to fear. It's just a video game, man. Come on, it's just Platinum.
Developers of The Legend of Korra, right? But
hey, man, that game had potential, right? That game had potential, but damn.
Yeah,
they really did something with that combat. That combat was something good, but
yeah, I also had potential when I was in high school, man. But look what happened to me. So,
hey, man.
Wait, did you play the Legend of Korra game?
No, but I saw enough.
Oh man, okay, yeah. So I understand your reservation, but man, that combat was actually like they had something there. They definitely had something there.
All right.
But yeah, nothing else beyond that.
All right. Walt, why don't you talk about what you've been playing this week?
Very mellow week. Not too many games. Usually I rotate between a bunch of them. Beginning of this week, I restarted my journey in Demon Souls because I was getting to the point with my original build.
What?
Yeah, this is my mentality behind it. So there's no reallocating points like option in Demon Souls. You can't just go
Are
to
you
a
sure?
statue and be like, yeah, no.
The
there
statue
isn't.
doesn't do it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
So essentially, I went to the statue. I spent the 25,000 souls that I grinded for no. I forgot Google existed, so I did that. and when I checked, oh wait, there's no reallocating. Like, okay, I'm not that far into it. Like, I didn't feel like I feel like I can get pretty quickly, like get through the bosses that I did over pretty quickly. So I restarted. I didn't choose the magician, which I chose, and essentially, it's like I think it's one of the harder classes to start with. So I started Imperial Knight, and let me tell you, strength builds all the way. I'm enjoying it 10 times more, just with the usual, just hack and slash souls like mentality. I am already like 4 bosses in. I'm having a blast. I'm trying to get through it. I want to beat it before Elden Ring comes out. I know this one's not FromSoft proper, but it's still, in light. It's a remake of the FromSoft game. After that, I decided to keep playing Sekiro and try to get the platinum on that. I already am. I'm 2 trophies in from the ones that I have to do. I did the collect all the healing gourds, and I did what was the other one? I think unlock all prosthetic tools. So I did those 2. Right now I'm just grinding away at getting gold so I can unlock more skills and whatnot. Now, the new game that I played this week was on Game Pass, and it's a little game called Death's Door, which essentially is this isometric, some may say Souls-like game. It's essentially a boss gauntlet slash adventure action adventure game. You play as this little crow that works for this essentially Grim Reaper-esque agency that takes care of, killing creatures that are, due to die and essentially how it works, these souls that you collect from these bosses that you kill function as a form of resource or energy to the agency. So right now, when you're in the little hub area where you work, it's all grayed out, and you have little crows like hanging out around the sides with no jobs because there's no people to kill, there's no creatures to kill, so they're complaining, they're saying how times are slow, and essentially if we don't kill anyone or take any souls, you're not going to continue the company. And you're tasked with this like phenomenon that appeared in one of the worlds. Essentially, a door will open. Death's Door. A door will open, and you will get transported into the world where the creature is located. And it's your job to take care of these just larger than life bosses. Essentially, they're very inventive. The first boss that I can say as much is it was essentially Macho. Did you play Nier Automata?
Hell yeah, I played Nier Automata.
You remember the boss,
to?
the theater boss, the ballerina boss?
Yeah. No,
Essentially,
cool.
it was a boss like that, but she had like vine whips, 4 vine whips that latched on to each side of the stage, and essentially you're playing around the boss and trying to chip at this boss and try to kill it. It's fast paced. The controls are pretty tight. I enjoy them. They don't feel unresponsive. They don't feel as quick as a more of a Hollow Knight and whatnot, but it's it feels good to play. It's fairly challenging. The bosses are not straightforward, just hack and slash away, and you won't, even if you take damage, you'll be fine. You have like 5 points of health, and the bosses keep they get harder the more you chip away at it. There's no health bar, so you essentially chip away at the boss. And the boss itself will show tear through time. So you'll see the boss like cracking, like you'll see cracks on the skin and like light oozing out. and that's your indication of, okay, you're killing this boss. Like keep chipping away, and you'll essentially kill the boss. Very fun game. It's on Game Pass, so the best deal on gaming. Other than that, man.
I think Gene actually reviewed that game, right?
Yeah, I reviewed it a while ago.
Yeah, man,
like
I don't. Did positive thoughts about it, or were you not too heavy on it?
Yeah, I gave it an 8.5. I thought that it fell off a cliff at one point towards the end of the game. I forget what I just totally forget what negative things I had to say about it. I should know that. But I love the game.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'll have more on it, as I get through it, because right now the Souls games are kind of consuming me a little bit with trying to beat them, and I'm not enjoying it. I'm not having a miserable time. Usually, when you hear someone talk about, oh, I'm trying to complete Dark Souls, they're pretty miserable. Not me. I enjoy these games a lot. I enjoy the pain. Other than that, man, I don't know if Macho's heard about this, but I downloaded it. I haven't played it much, but I'll talk about it more in the future. JRPG called Rogue Galaxy, I think it is.
Yeah, it's a PS2 game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It caught my attention. I'll talk about it more in the future, but yeah, keep on the lookout for that. But other than that, man, so it's been a Souls heavy week.
Nice. As it should be.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man, that's gonna wrap it up for the games that we've been playing this week. So yeah, I mean, let's just jump into it. I think we should. Well, I want you to kick things off with your sort of like overall just like reaction to like me. Like, what was your first reaction when you heard about Microsoft their intent to purchase Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion? Like where were you at when you found out? Were you sitting on the toilet? Like what was going on? And just for I guess like a recap in case anyone's been living under a rock. It was announced on Tuesday that Microsoft has agreed to purchase Activision Blizzard for $68.7 billion. This includes pretty legendary franchises like World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Call of Duty, of course, King, which does Candy Crush, StarCraft, Crash Bandicoot, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk, right? Like they now theoretically will own all of these IPs. So yeah, Walt, go ahead, talk to us. What was your sort of first reaction when you heard about this?
Right. So this, I was sleeping, as usual, and every time whenever I wake up, my first thing is to check on the latest trending and just get familiar with if the world's falling apart or not. And I go on Twitter and I check what's the latest in general. My timeline is usually, of course, entertainment, movies, TV shows, video games, see what's going on. And to my surprise, I start seeing tweets referring to very vaguely, like, oh, what's this gonna mean? Oh, wow, this is huge. Just people, just having a reaction, and I have no idea what they're talking about. And I go to trending.
Greg Miller was like, oh, it feels like E3. So like,
yeah, you had a lot of like, it was weird because you either had tweets that were, oh, I'm scared for the future, or you had people that were like, oh, it's a great day to be a video game fan or some shit. And I was like, what's going on? Yeah, I was like, wait, guys, what's going on? And I check and I see the news and I'm like, and I had to refresh and I was like, am I reading this right? Wait, what happened? How much? First thing that caught my eye was the amount. Holy hell. 60, how much? 67? 68?
67.8 billion or something like that.
67.8.
68.7 or whatever.
Yeah.
In an age of acquisitions, because that's the reality. We live in to put it bluntly, we live in an era where you think about an acquisition, at least in my mind, the first thing I think about is the impact that studios like Disney have had in terms of acquisitions in general. But the thing is, to this scale, you really haven't seen it in the video game industry, or at least I don't think so, as long that I've been, like aware of the industry and its moves. And my first reaction was more so intrigue and confusion because we're still a year and a half away from this being official, like it being finalized, which is I think they said like summer 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and you already have people talking about this like this is gonna take place tomorrow, which what bothers me the most is not what bothered me first, and this was in order, was people not speculating. They weren't speculating. They were just taking things. They were making their own headcanon, and that was bothering me because, first of all, they start antagonizing each other. If this was more of a civil discussion, that'd be fine. But it's essentially how when we tweeted out this podcast, it very much was feeling like the lobbies of a Call of Duty like Xbox 360 game. It feels like there's no civil discussion. Like we're having more civil discussions about damn NFTs, which are not even near as close to being an actual a reality in games than this actual acquisition will have an impact. I feel like the way that everything's unfolding. My reaction to it was confused. Again, I'm not a person of expectations, so my mind immediately went to what does this mean to the just shitstorm that's been happening with ATV, with what's been happening with allegations and all the shitstorm that's been happening internally. In my mind, I've just been more curious as to what's going to happen. First of all, again, speculations and in the civil war on Twitter, you see people talk about how this is either good or bad for a certain executive in Activision. And it's baffling to see people say, "Oh no, this is the right move. This is gonna not benefit, Activision's executive, Kotick, Bobby Kotick." But then actuality is, this man's not gonna leave that place with empty pockets. This acquisition just further strengthens the fact that it's gonna be a heavy bag, my guy.
It's a perfect villain. It's a perfect villain.
There's some Lex Luthor shit, but
100%.
But the thing is, man, I can't this is very much a case, something I'm going to be following, of course, until it's officialized. We all are. It's inevitable. But the fact of the matter is not so much the acquisition itself, but what this means for the future in terms of other companies that want to then get into video games. We're looking at Microsoft knows what the video game industry is about, but what if a company that has no idea what, you have Apple or you have more like non-video game forward companies trying to chip in and buy these companies, and then what's that going to mean? How are these companies going to change? Are these companies going to take a turn for the worse? In this case, it's hard to tell because you have one side that's, I hope that they get to fix Activision Blizzard and they're gonna get all this resolved. But then you have one side that's saying, creative freedom. Oh, this is the creative freedom is over. But then you have one side that say, no, this actually means more resources and they're actually gonna get creative freedom. We have no idea how this is gonna be impacted. The fact of the matter is, who benefits is not the one you want to benefit. Because there's shit that wasn't resolved before this acquisition that should have been resolved. But maybe this is their response to resolving some of the internal issues. My stance, I guess, because honestly, I don't have a set stance because I don't really know what's going to happen. We can only speculate based on past acquisitions / moves from like internal studios or liquidations of studios and whatnot. I just hope that the people that have not been treated the best way in Activision Blizzard get their chance of being in a better environment. Like that's generally just been my curiosity and intrigue for that company to get his shit together. Will this be the solution? I don't think there is a solution, but there is a path that can be beneficial. But it very much is something that we'll be able to say more as the weeks and months follow. We already this very week we got a tweet from Phil Spencer.
Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
Yeah. So we already are seeing. We don't only have the title card or the article saying, oh, the acquisition happened. No, we already have some look into what's being talked about. So I don't know.
That's
I'm not worried about the games, and this is me being blunt, man. I have to be honest. I have every console. Okay, me personally, does this affect me? Only if the quality in game maybe falters, but I'm not someone that is particularly huge into the lineup that Activision Blizzard has done. Yes, I play Overwatch and whatnot. I've had my opinions on how the company is, so I've strayed away a little bit until they fix some of their inner shit. But quite frankly, this makes sense. This is especially infuriating if you start speculating about, if you only have one console and if you're a diehard like warrior for one console, and now in the future a title will be an exclusive on Xbox, and maybe that's a negative. But in my case, it's not affecting me in any way. But I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that this can have repercussions on a broader scale. So I'm just spectating a little bit more than I am chipping in on opinions, but that's only because before the set tweet that we're going to talk about, there were certain speculations, but now there's some different perspectives based on that tweet. So everything's evolving. I can't have something set now, but
that's what I'm most annoyed about already is like this thing happened in January, man. We have to go through this for another year and a half. Like I felt, I was so happy that we were done with the Bethesda stuff, because it was literally just like a year or almost a year of just speculating, like running around in circles over and over and over again, repeating like the same, takes and theories and whatever for a year. And I thought we were spared of that once they finally acquired the company. And now we have to go through it all over again, but now it's even worse this time because the timing of when they announced it, right? It wasn't like
it's gonna be every week.
I know, dude. That's what we're still in week 1, and I've already had my fill of it, man. I'm already done.
I'm about to mute Activision Blizzard at this point.
I'm about to mute acquisition because everyone's about to talk about future acquisitions and you have the whole Tencent situation. Like you have so much going on.
That's what me and Sol were talking before after our talk on what was it, Wednesday or Tuesday? Like, man, we were like, we're tired of these podcasts or just people in general just talking about acquisitions. Like, it's starting to get annoying now. Like even
talk about games. Man.
Exactly. Yeah, the discourse on Twitter is just like something I'm absolutely 100% choosing not to engage with at all, just because there's a lot of takes out there. There's a lot of dumb things being said. There's a lot of just really weird and ignorant things being said. At this point, I'm just not even going to engage with it because it's not even worth my time. And it's not about not engaging people that disagree with my take on things. It's more just Twitter is not the place for that.
No, it's Twitter, for God's sake.
That's part of the reason why I'm not on Twitter that much anymore. But also, I won't. Speaking of dumb takes, I won't name names. But there's a certain journalist who definitely,
hey man,
who this whole situation definitely made him say something dumb.
He needs to refrain from calling people a shill because his outlet gave Cyberpunk a 10 out of 10 at launch.
Yep.
Oh yeah. See, look at that.
Yeah. So we won't get into that, but that man needs to. Anyway, but okay. So obviously, since we had our discussion on Tuesday, some updates have happened since then. Phil Spencer, we could talk about this first before we get into the whole. I had calls with leaders at Sony. The Washington Post little 10-minute interview that Phil Spencer had with Gene Park, the fantastic Gene Park. If you guys don't know who he is, you guys should definitely check out his work. He is pretty great. So yeah, he got to sit down with Gene for a few minutes to talk about the acquisition, um, what this means in Phil's perspective. One of the more interesting sort of like tidbits that came out from that little interview, and I am scrambling now to find the quote right now. Let's see if I can find it. Goddamn, Gene, you've been retweeting a ton of stuff. Okay, here it is. So one of the things that he said was specifically about pertaining to not Microsoft, but Sony and Nintendo and how they kind of fit into this whole thing. And so yeah, specifically talking about Apple, Google, Facebook, Netflix, and how they're kind of like encroaching on the gaming market. Phil Spencer said that Nintendo is not going to do anything that damages gaming in the long run, because that's the business that they're in, and Sony is the same, and I trust them. And then, God damn it, it's not here. But then he kind of went on to talk about how these other tech giants, like he doesn't know their intentions, right? And I found it very like sort of hypocritical that he's worried about Amazon and Facebook and all these other tech giants from coming in and sort of like taking over, when it's like kind of like what he's doing right now with Microsoft, sort of.
Right.
So,
oh man, do I need to bring out his old nickname now?
oh man. I don't know if you guys had a chance to check out the article. What was sort
Yeah, I
of
did.
your, obviously, people are freaking out about him talking about, Activision IP in general. He mentioned Hexen. So yeah, I don't know if you guys got to check it out. What was your guys' sort of biggest takeaways from the Washington Post article?
For me personally, I think it was definitely more reassuring than anything, because, well, yeah, it is pretty hypocritical, and it goes back to my old nickname for Mr. Phil Spencer. I understand his take on that, where we all been kind of, had our boats rocked when Amazon, Tencent, and Google wanted to enter the game, and enter the game heavy, right? Whether it be for buying up studios. I mean, because what was the studio that worked on Order 1886?
Ready at Dawn was acquired by Facebook.
Yeah, and like people are just wanted a sequel to that game, and now they won't be working on any of that stuff because they're working on stuff for Facebook. Yeah, Facebook's entered the game too, so like I can understand his perspective, saying like, well, we wanted to acquire one of the biggest publishers, third-party publishers in the space, because imagine if they did get bought up by Tencent or Amazon or anything like that, because that could be, kind of catastrophic for Activision Blizzard. Imagine if Tencent or Amazon bought them up, and then they're not really producing much, or they're in hot waters, and then boom, it's the end of Activision Blizzard. We've seen that happen before with studios, stuff like that. But under Microsoft, under Phil Spencer, they have a chance of actually getting more of a chance to work on stuff they want to do, or even mess up, or whatever the case may be, right? I think that's reassuring, yes. The other part of it that has me thinking more long term, and then this is my last point, so someone else can go, is that what's going to happen after Phil Spencer when he's done actually being the boss for Xbox?
No, you're making a really good point, because I truly believe that Phil Spencer is one of us. I would trust Phil
same.
Spencer with my elderly mom. I when he talks about video games, I get impassioned by the things that they're doing. He is absolutely positively one of us, from Phantasy Star Online and to the backwards compatibility stuff. That is all him. And I mean, implementing these things, these decisions, he is one of us.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and that's kind of like the point where we're saying like it's reassuring, right? Even the stuff he said before about exclusives and everyone should be playing everywhere. All those campaigns that he run before. I understand the reassurance from the Xbox fan base. My point is like what's going to happen afterwards when we get a leader that's like Don Matrick. And he doesn't see the value. He doesn't see the value in those IPs, doesn't see anything like that. So that's the point I'm really trying to harp on. Like, I understand where the optimism is coming from, and I love it. I think it's probably a great future, and we probably don't have anything to worry about. But until after Phil Spencer comes in or goes out rather, then what's gonna happen then?
No, that is a really good point. And Phil's compensation and his age makes him a fairly good candidate to retire in 5 to 10 years.
100%.
So this Activision deal is not even going to really be halfway done or halfway through a 10-year period and bear fruit when he's ready to go on and do something else.
Yep.
Yeah, but like at the same time,
that's kind of where I'm coming from. But
same time, don't you guys think that like they very deliberately put out that flow chart or whatever at the end of the Xbox Wire showing, this is everybody who's in, like Phil's little profile picture or whatever was like at the top of this little flow chart. It was like showing like the 13 people in like position at like Xbox Gaming or whatever. And I'm like, don't you guys think that like he like once he's ready to get out the door, he would, I don't know, maybe like promote theoretically, I don't know, like a Sarah Bond, because I'm assuming that she's probably a lot younger than Phil Spencer. Like he would promote like a Sarah Bond. He would like pass the torch over to like one of those people that are like below him, and theoretically, since he's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like shepherd them or whatever, that he trusts them to sort of take over, eventually at one day,
You would think, but the thing is, companies have agendas, and people have agendas, and agendas always change.
No, and back to
and that's where we come from. Like Sean, like I always saw Sean Layden as like one of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got the boot through Twitter,
but like because there's people still above him, and Phil is like, he's the goddamn CEO. There's no one above him except for Satya, but even with that, like Phil is the CEO of Xbox Gaming. There's theoretically like no one else above him, so I feel like we don't have to. This isn't like a Sean Layden, thing. It's not like Sean Layden passed the torch to Jim Ryan, or something like that.
I have to disagree, because we're assuming that if he were to step down one day in the next 10 years, that he would pick his successor, and that's not exactly how it would work. Satya would, it was not that long ago that Phil was fighting for Xbox, for them to keep Xbox. When Satya came into power, it was really up to him whether or not they were going to sell Xbox off to Amazon or keep it. So a lot of these things aren't necessarily true, and Hector's right. They're spot on about what's going to happen if Phil's not there. Who is it going to be? And we'll never know.
Yeah, that's fair. Either way, I feel like it's too early to worry about, but.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
way too early.
Yeah,
way too.
But you were
early.
right about the org chart being a message, because that was a signal. Like, this is who we are. We have women in charge here. Phil may be ahead, but we have women in charge here. Women that run the show here. And it's. I saw that org chart, and it had the gender pronouns underneath their names, and it was almost all women. And I'm like, they're sending a message to the industry that that's going to be an inclusive place to work. And the gaming community is incredibly progressive, and that's what they want. Right now, there's an issue with hiring. There's a report about 2,000 people have left Microsoft and Sony and Apple to go work at Oculus. Meta's on a huge hiring spree. Amazon's on a huge hiring spree, and I think they want to send a message to the world, especially after acquiring Activision, that that's not going to be a place where they're going to tolerate or allow the things that happen at Activision to go on.
Yeah, and I think in general, like, you guys say that I don't know, what did Gene say, that he would trust Phil Spencer with something, I don't know. In general, like I'm still like, wary of like CEOs and businesses in general. Like I don't trust any of them as far as I can, throw them, but this is the one thing that I'm like, yeah, Phil is definitely the right guy to sort of he's the person I would want to be in charge of a sort of like reformation of an Activision Blizzard.
And Phil wants to do even more than they're doing. I believe he wants to have all these Sega Dreamcast games and classic Sega franchises like Jet Set Radio Future on the Xbox backwards compatibility program, and have these relationships with Japan and Sega. I'm sure he wants to. And there seems like there's so many things that he wants to do that's out of his control, like putting MechAssault on the backwards compatibility program, or having a new Sonic game that's good. He wants these things. He's one of us. The things that we kind of scratch our heads, like, why doesn't Xbox do this? Like, why don't they have a better JRPG presence? Like, he's clawing tooth and nail to make those things happen, but while not being a scumbag about it at the same time. They in this acquisition of Activision, I think everyone wins. If they go and they do a hostile takeover of Square Enix, it's going to undo a lot of the work that they did. Of course they could afford to do that. Of course. But it's going to undo the goodwill that they created in the community in terms of not being the empire, the dark empire. Look at what happened with Vivendi. People hated at Ubisoft, and then Vivendi was doing the hostile takeover, and you heard outcries of producers and developers at Ubisoft Studios, and this became like sympathy for them almost. And they're not doing these nasty hostile takeovers where they could go get Square Enix and build out all the Final Fantasy IPs on Game Pass, because he knows it would upset the community and it would backfire.
At the same time, they wouldn't even be allowed to do that because there are Japanese laws in place to prevent Western companies from going out and purchasing them outright. Correct?
I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't know, but they're a publicly traded company. They could just buy enough to have a seat at the table. For sure.
Okay. So yeah, that was the Washington Post interview.
I just
with
want
Phil.
gamers to get along, man. I just want people to get along, man.
So yeah, we should touch on the whole Call of Duty thing, because obviously that was the big thing. The big sort of get where everyone saw that potentially being exclusive and was kind of like freaking out. So Phil Spencer came out, when was it? Thursday, I think, on the 20th. He tweeted out, had good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honor all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry, and we value our relationship. It sounded condescending as hell to me. But yeah, I mean, I guess this man, obviously we know him to be a wordsmith, right? He is so careful with his words. I feel like this is like a nothing statement because there's like a lot of wiggle room in here to still be like, hey, this could be just like leaving Warzone on here, or he's talking about all the Call of Duties from here on out will still be on PlayStation, right? Like, I still feel like this isn't a definitive answer. It's the same thing that we got with Bethesda time and time again, right? Like he says it is, it is our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. It was my desire to have a 4.0 GPA in college, and that didn't happen. So like I feel like I don't know, like there's with desire specifically, like I don't know, this is a lot of wiggle room that kind of covers his bases legally. So yeah, I don't know what was everyone's thoughts when this tweet came out, or did this change anyone's sort of opinion on whether Call of Duty would be exclusive to Xbox or not?
No, because here's the thing. First of all, Twitter is a surgeon's table. It's a surgeon's table, and this tweet is the patient. People are dissecting this, and they're either going one side or the other. Either this is just normal corporate talk that, is saying nothing, or there's people finding hints and Easter eggs saying, oh no, this little statement over here indicates that they're meaning of the current, Warzone, but any future Call of Duty will be exclusive. It can be either. Does it change my opinion on how the exclusivity will be affected in terms of, being on Xbox or staying on PlayStation or continue to be multi-platform? No, I see it at the same way, kind of, that with Cinemax work, where there will be the exclusives. However, Call of Duty is a franchise that it's yearly. I don't know if it'll continue to be yearly. That's another thing. How will this impact the release date? Will it still be yearly? Will they focus their resources on releasing maybe, multiple ones? I don't know how this is gonna be, because the money's there. I think the smaller ones and not so much bigger AAA ones, because that's the thing. Vanguard, compared to more mammoth-sized ones like Modern Warfare / Warzone, it's quite a big of a gap in terms of size and quality. And granted, Vanguard had a huge controversy in terms of it being incredibly good for some people and just being one of the most mediocre Call of Duties. But in terms of exclusivity, truly, I see this going either now it's not exclusive, but it will be, or it's timed exclusives from here on out, but then eventually it'll reach a point where it's going to be purely Xbox and PC. I don't know. Could either way.
What are you thinking? You think this is going to be exclusive after hearing this?
So I was always under the impression that this is incredibly complicated, but I was always under the impression that Phil had said he would never cancel the deal that Sony had with Bethesda. So where I was frustrated is Andrew Renee's husband, John Drake. He was in charge of third party at Sony during this time, and there was a transition. This was during the Sean Layden leaving era. He was kind of part of a regime. Adam Boyes, Sean, and John were indie, first party, second party, and head of PlayStation Worldwide Studios. So where I became frustrated is okay, so Phil said that he was never going to cancel a deal that Sony had with Bethesda.
Which he can't, right? Because legally he can't do that.
No, he can. Why the hell, and I'll get there, why the hell isn't Starfield coming out on PlayStation? So you're telling me after all this time, after Bethesda's been talking about Starfield since basically, it's been in development since 2016, 2017. They have PlayStation dev kits working on the game. There's no agreement to early on in the game's development to have that game on the platform. Then when the acquisition becomes announced, Sony doesn't send anyone over to Bethesda to make that deal official. And if Microsoft says, no, you can't put Starfield on PlayStation, that's illegal because they don't own Bethesda yet. They're not allowed to control Bethesda and make decisions for them. And if you're Bethesda, doesn't it make sense to put Starfield on the most popular platform, PlayStation, 2-1,
Yeah.
Right? So that didn't make any sense to me. And I talked about that with David Jaffe when I was on his stream. And he said, Phil can say whatever he wants. It doesn't mean he didn't cancel that game, alluding to the fact that he knew that Phil had canceled the PlayStation version of Starfield, which makes sense because the game is coming out in basically 10 months, 11 months. That had to have been very far along in development on PlayStation. Prior to spring of 2020, spring of 2021, that deal became final.
Yeah, I do find it interesting that when this happened with the Bethesda thing as well, and when Phil would come out and say hey, we're going to honor the agreements, et cetera, and everyone's sort of reaction was oh my god, Phil, he's so generous, see, he's such a good guy, but I'm like, that's literally illegal for him, he can't do that, why are we all celebrating or acting like this is a good thing that he's going to honor those agreements? Of course he's going to honor them. So well,
I think it's because it's people look at that tweet, they're immediately thinking of the single player experience. It's what Call of Duty is kind of made a name for itself in terms of being a single player and multiplayer behemoth. People were really taking that as the future Call of Duty games, but it's not really what he said either. I was more focused on is he gonna retract any games from PlayStation of that fact, and that's not gonna be the case either. So, it was a very non-statement.
It's a nothing.
Yeah,
it's the obvious. It's corporate talk. I mean, there's nothing here. There's nothing here.
That's what I'm saying. I feel a lot of people are coming away from this tweet with something definitive. Okay, now they the clouds have cleared and they've gotten their answer. But I feel like I'm the same. My opinion is the same as it was, like, I don't know, when we first heard about this, where I'm just not sure. You know,
No,
I feel like it could go either way. I don't know.
Yeah, everyone's a lawyer all of a sudden.
no, for me, what that told me was that Warzone's obviously going to be staying on PlayStation, and anything that's future of Call of Duty is going to be up in the air. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how he's feeling. But to me, what the real thing that told me about that tweet was that I definitely talked to Sony. Call of Duty was definitely on the table, and I made an offer. And to me, that offer could be future Call of Duties can be on PlayStation still, but it's the biggest but. Game Pass on PlayStation. To me, that is what he left away from that conversation with. And that's in my head canon. That's what's going on. Where PlayStation is mulling over. Man, we need the Call of Duty games on PlayStation. That's a big chunk for us to make money on third party stuff. But we need Game Pass on PlayStation because that's what Phil's offering.
Yeah, here's my hot take diva thought on that tweet. You guys are totally right. There's absolutely nothing to think yet. But I believe for the first time in probably 10 years, maybe even longer, it makes sense to own all three platforms. Now, Starfield's coming out at the end of the year. That is going to be incredibly ambitious. All of the Bethesda open world RPG games, regardless of how you feel about them, Elder Scrolls, coming out in a couple of years, that's going to be incredibly important. Game Pass is a great value. You have Animal Crossing on the Switch. Zelda's coming out on the Switch. You got Mario, and PlayStation has its games. And everyone's kind of shook right now. But he's losing, and that's where the kind of a lot of the confusion and discourse is coming from, is that someone says like, this platform is better than that platform, or this platform is better than that platform now, and what about this platform? But I think for the first time ever, it's worth owning all three consoles. And if you look at hobbies, like let's say you're a musician, a cheap guitar is $1,500. That's the cost of all three platforms right now to get in. A car part, if you're an automotive guy, if you're into collecting cars, a car part, might be $2,000 or $3,000, or that's what I spend in a year in games. Just about it feels like, and I feel like people are kind of thrown off for the fact that, I've been hating on Xbox for all this time now, and I should probably go buy one, and that makes me feel weird because I've been hating them on Twitter now. I don't know what to say, and just like, with Horizon and Spider-Man and Wolverine, like, how could you possibly be on Twitter all day hating on PlayStation and Nintendo with Zelda, Mario, Animal Crossing, Metroid? Like, how could you be this passionate about video games and not play those games?
Yeah, Soul.
Yeah, Soul. Push the Switch.
Hey, man. the Wii gave me PTSD, man. So, I haven't played a Nintendo game since.
And that's the thing, the Wii U was worthless. The Wii was worthless. It became everyone's home Netflix, player. Xbox, from the day they launched the Kinect up until about last year, the Xbox was completely worthless. There was no reason. Gears is awful. Halo's been awful. I'm sorry. Those franchises are awful. The Gears lore is the most uninteresting thing I've ever experienced in my life that people get over on it. It's so weird and bizarre that people like that. It hasn't been good since Gears 2, and they're on like 5 now, and we've got these strategy games. But with the Xbox Series X, with Game Pass, and with the stuff that's on the way, like, they just acquired Activision. Okay, wouldn't it be cool if WoW was included in Game Pass? Like, what a tremendous value that would be. Never mind the fact of, like, what's in the pipeline for them. Okay, maybe it's not, with it being hard to get, maybe it's not worth running out today and going to go get.
But in 5 years, in 5 years, yeah.
Yeah,
damn, dude, you didn't have to go for the throat. Golly. Nice. Love it.
Yeah, Halo's there. There's a lot of cool stuff in Game Pass. They're more. It seems like they're more committed to indies than PlayStation is, and PlayStation was incredibly committed to indies the first year of PlayStation 4, and I think they lost their way, and they're coming back. But Xbox just has this great relationship with getting these indie games like Death's Door and Nobody Saves the World in Game Pass, and I firmly believe that by the end of 2023, they're going to have probably close to 36 studios, and they're going to be releasing content at a level that's faster than Netflix, and I could see them doing smaller AA games constantly every week, every month, whatever, and having a Halo campaign expansion, having a Halo multiplayer expansion. Okay, you have a Call of Duty campaign coming out today, but next month is going to be the Warzone update, and the month after that's going to be the multiplayer update. And fractionalize everything off. And that goes back to Macho's point about, okay, Call of Duty is going to be on PlayStation, but in what form? We already know that they're going to decentralize Activision. They're going to bring Toys for Bob back to making platformers, and these, they're going to decentralize and not to make sure the Call of Duty is coming out every year, or that the whole entire company is working on Call of Duty. So we know that Call of Duty is going to be a different animal in about 3 years.
That's what I wanted to ask you guys, is the whole, Call of Duty potentially no longer being an annual franchise. Do you guys truly believe that's a possibility now? Because I feel like those teams are already working on 3-year, cycles, right? Like Sledgehammer, for instance, or whatever, they take 3 years in between, making, their entries into the franchise or whatever. It's still like an unsustainable process, but I feel like that is sort of like a really not well-oiled machine, but it is a machine that they've been doing for a number of years. Like, I don't know, I feel like it's going to take a really long time to sort of break that up. Not even to mention all the support studios, or just all the teams in general that work on Call of Duty. I don't know how do you break that up, right? Does that affect the quality of Call of Duty if you take away, Beanox and Vicarious Visions and all these teams that help, put these games out the door? Who do you even say, okay, now Sledgehammer, from now on you are, the team that makes Call of Duty from now on, or Treyarch or Infinity Ward? How do you go about making that decision within itself, right? I don't know. I feel like that this is a really, really complicated, sort of thing to do. It's not just as simple. It's okay, now we stop making this a yearly franchise. I don't know. I feel like there's it's really, really complicated.
I think they're gonna take again, this is me theorizing and having my hot take opinion here. I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna take the Halo Infinite approach, where they have a multiplayer like Warzone that's specifically a service thing that's happening for Call of Duty, and then when it comes to single player experiences, that'll be nugget drops here and there onto their Game Pass service, similar to what Halo Infinite is probably going to be doing.
Yeah, similar to how it went. The first Call of Duty to start being Black Ops 4 started this whole trend of, granted, Modern Warfare brought the story back, but Black Ops 4 did not even have a story. It was purely multiplayer / battle royale, live service kind of thing. And it kept, releasing more skins and events and all this. But Warzone is a different mammoth. That game, that you cannot deny that Warzone is, and you've mentioned this, Macho, how Call of Duty is the premium arcade, shooter experience right now.
It is.
Warzone very much is the premium, next to Fortnite, the premium battle royale multiplayer experience. And in a financial standpoint, I don't know how the numbers look, but I don't know if logically it sounds like it makes more sense to keep Warzone multi-plat, because that's where the most money is. The more players play it, more, the larger the income. But I don't know how pedantic they're going to be with their choices.
I don't know. It's just going by their trends, right? Mm-hmm. Its services are king. That includes mobile, that includes console, that includes PC. Yeah. So it only makes sense to really focus on Call of Duty to do the same thing, but keep everybody in a single player camp happy by bringing out stuff every now and then that those creative teams want to work on. Say Beanox has a really good idea for a war story single player game with the Call of Duty franchise, right? They don't have to do their own IP. They could just go with something that people are already familiar with and just go with that. Whether it's gonna happen or not, I have no idea, but that's just kind of what I'm thinking about. You
Hey
know?
man, as long as you put Candy Crush on Game Pass, I'm happy.
Yeah,
But
Candy Crush Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, man. Give me
Gene,
some Candy
what
Crush
about
skins.
you? How do you think they go about like potentially making or stop releasing Call of Duty, yearly?
Mm.
I think it's going to naturally happen. I think they're on the cusp of doing that without the Microsoft influence, and we already know that for sure. Microsoft wants to decentralize these companies, like I said, so they're headed in that direction without it, and Microsoft's going to want it. They're going to want smaller budgets on these Call of Duty games, so I think that that's going to break up the multiplayer, the single player story campaign, and Warzone, which is already broken off, and it gives them a path to break off the story campaign from the actual multiplayer. Um, I think you're probably still going to have three teams making Call of Duty. It's going to be hard for them to pivot. Microsoft's influence can't take hold for another year and a half. So it's going to be hard to pivot from three teams making Call of Duty to one.
Right? Because
And even with
theoretically, they're
one,
all making one right now as we speak, right? I mean, you
yeah,
would assume.
and having one team make Call of Duty returns it from an annualized game to like once every 4 years, and you can't do that either. So I think that they're going to take Beanox, and I think they're going to take Toys for Bob, and I think they're going to resuscitate Vicarious Visions, and they're going to have not that Vicarious Visions is working on Call of Duty, they're working on Diablo 4, but they're going to have them go back to being smaller studios working on their own games, whether it's new IP or Crash or Spyro or Vigilante 8 or whatever. Um, that was a joke.
I would have laughed if I knew what that was.
Okay, it's an old Activision game that Activision doesn't even own the IP to. Um, yeah, and I think they're going to probably keep two or three teams working. There is going to be some consolidation here. There's 10,000 employees with Activision. There's going to be a lot of redundancy and overlap with Microsoft. It is going to take a couple of years, but there is going to be some consolidation, and people are not going to like the changes that Microsoft's going to bring. So it's going to have a revolving door of developers and producers, and all sorts of roles, whether it's accounting or whatever, move around. And I think they'll find it. I trust Phil to find. It goes back to how I feel about Phil. I trust them to find a healthy mix of how Call of Duty is going to work going forward.
Yeah, and also like theoretically, like this whole theory about Call of Duty potentially taking off a year. It's not like because I don't even think that like obviously it's a cash cow, but I don't even think like Microsoft at this point are like concerned with like copies sold of these games, right? It's all about subscribers and into Game Pass. So like theoretically you could have a world where Call of Duty comes out every other year, right? Because now you do have 31 studios. Now you do have a Gears can fill in that slot on the year that Call of Duty is not coming out, or you could have a Wolfenstein 3 be the one to fill in that slot, or whatever, right? They now have the content to sort of fill in those gaps when a Call of Duty isn't releasing that year, or a Halo isn't releasing that year, or Gears isn't releasing that year, just because of the sheer number of content that they could, theoretically release.
And to the same point, they're not going to want overlapping stuff either.
Right.
This year Battlefield and Halo came out right next to each other. Not
And
that they're
Call of
acquiring
Duty.
Battlefield or anything like that. But yeah, Call of Duty was right there. They're not going to do that. There's no reason for them to do that.
Right, right. So yeah, it's pretty insane, especially just content wise, what they can do. Um but yeah, and then also like what you mentioned, I think for me, like obviously I have I think this has its pros and cons, right? Which I don't know why people think it can't, it's like mutually exclusive, why you have to feel 100% positive about this or 100% negative about this. Like I feel like it's not fence sitting, like you can feel, like you can recognize both sides. But I do think one of the clear positives, what you mentioned, Gene, is the fact that like, yeah, you can now have a Toys for Bob making a Psychonauts Double Fine level or scale project now, right? They don't have to be doing support work on a Call of Duty or Diablo 4 or whatever the case may be. And that is something that Phil mentioned in, I think, that Washington Post article, is giving a little bit more autonomy to these teams, and going to them and finding out, like, what do you guys want to work on. I think that's probably the coolest thing to come out from this.
Yeah, I 100% agree with, and that's like one of the positive sides I'm seeing in this, besides the whole restructuring of Activision Blizzard from what happened. But also, it's just their IP, as far as World of Warcraft, or what one I was focused on was Overwatch. I thought of the other day is that now, in 5, 6 years, 7 years time, we can actually get an Arcane like Netflix series, but for Overwatch, which is something I've been wanting since the game came out. And now that's possible because they're under the umbrella of Microsoft.
Yeah,
Not that it wasn't possible before, but like there is definitely like a lot of there's a lot of rumblings in the inner workings of Activision Blizzard that prevented that from happening. Excuse me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I don't know if there's. I guess the last major thing that we can talk, pertaining to this topic before we wrap it up is, there have been some regulators or representatives from Congress, I believe, who have been tweeting about this and saying that this is something that they're going to look into. Recently, Joe Biden and I forget her name. It's like
Kamala
Psaki.
Harris?
No, Psaki or whatever. His press secretary. It's very clear that this administration is taking mergers and acquisitions like a lot more seriously than prior administrations. There was like some bill that just passed, making sure that they're not being as loose as they were about them in the past. So like, seeing regulators talking about this now, do you guys still feel confident that this is like 100% going to be passed through without an issue? I still think it will be. But yeah, I do think it's interesting that now it feels like it's being scrutinized a little tougher than maybe prior things have ever been before. And like also there's this thing about like, okay, which is also very interesting. Phil putting out that tweet, I think, is also a kind of like very specifically going to the FTC and DOJ and being like, hey, look, like we aren't we aren't planning to take away Call of Duty from PlayStation. I feel like that only helps their case in this whole deal getting passed through and whatnot. But there's this whole thing about people saying potentially if the FTC and DOJ finds like this could like dampen competition in general within the market, that they could be like, okay, we will let this deal go through, but Call of Duty still has to be on PlayStation. Or for instance, I don't know, King, you guys can keep Activision Blizzard, but King still gets to be independent or whatever. So yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, like, you guys seeing all these representatives tweeting about the deal and whatnot, does this change your opinion on the deal being passed or not?
I want to hear what Gene, and I want to hear Gene's take on this specifically, because here's the thing. I'm fascinated with the points that he brought up, and I'm learning so much about the different like aspects of acquisitions and how Microsoft and Sony, and I want to hear Gene's take, if you could go ahead.
Yeah, I think the deal is going to go through without issue, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be every week there's going to be some sort of headline or some sort of new piece of drama as people get involved, and we talked about this. This is going to go on for a year and a half, and then it's going to go on probably another half a year as we start to see that Microsoft start to implement their changes, and then we're going to be talking about the aftermath and the years after that as we see the end result of what Microsoft does. I think worst case scenario, they're going to spin off King to somebody else, but that's still going to be like, a Take-Two or an Amazon or an Apple or a Tencent. That's the worst case scenario, is that King doesn't come along. but this deal is going to go through. Microsoft, they're well educated on these acquisitions. They have some of the best IP lawyers in the world, and they knew what they were doing. They knew the new laws before they did this, and they're well versed on exactly what to do when it came to Bethesda. But I just think that the numbers are going to raise eyebrows. But it'll go through without problem.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I think just naturally with the scale of the amount of money that's being changed, right, changed hands, that it is going to raise eyebrows more so than the Bethesda one. But yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna go through. But yeah, I guess that is pretty much it. Is there anything that we missed pertaining to this? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I would just say is when it comes up about whether or not the deal is going to go through or not, just remember Microsoft's going to go to Congress or wherever and say, "Hey, look at these sexual abuse allegations we're going to save this company from." And do you think that someone else is going to stand up and say, "Oh no, let's not do this"?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we not to get like too political, but we still had people there saying that January 6th was what didn't happen for at the Capitol. So of course there's gonna be people that are saying they are against this.
I'm actually curious, like, what is going to be like, those two agencies, the FTC and the DOJ, like, what is their reaction going to be specifically pertaining to, the allegations to Activision? Does that actually help Microsoft's case, or does it hinder it that they are purchasing a company with that's mired in so much controversy? I feel like I'm not sure about that.
I think it does help their case. Yeah, 100%. Because they're going to go in and they're going to be looked as the problem solver. That Activision Blizzard has had this problem not just for months. They had this thing for years, and it has been fixed. And when money talks, and the money did talk, then they're going to be looked at as a problem solver here.
Yeah,
so
it's very much a glass half full, half empty. Because exactly. Or they're either the problem solver, or they're getting they're getting themselves into something that really shouldn't. It's not going to benefit them, and then they're going to take it into their own hands to fix Activision Blizzard. But I mean, there's very much a case where if they're the problem solver, which that would be, I think, best case scenario in terms of making sure that Activision Blizzard gets its shit together. Someone do something, because Bobby ain't doing anything. There's nothing being done.
Yeah, so it's all very interesting. I guess we should touch on Sony. I guess if we are to assume that Call of Duty stays on PlayStation, is Sony now like even really worried about this acquisition, or like how, like I don't know, like how do you guys think they proceed from here on out? Because it's obvious to me that it can't be business as usual, but at the same time they can't just go out and buy like a Square Enix or a Capcom. I mean, theoretically they could, but like I just don't think that Sony is like that type of company, and neither is Nintendo really.
I mean, everybody wants to believe they are that company, and they probably would be. But yeah, I don't think that the response is to go out and buy people or buy companies like that. I mean, I think they're absolutely worried when it comes to the Call of Duty stuff. But in terms of everything else, I mean, it's really gonna be playing. It's really like a wait and see, man. Like, I really don't think there's gonna be like a hardcore response, because they're trying to really focus on their answer to Game Pass, let alone what's going to happen with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about
the
you?
catch-up game.
What about you, Gene? Do you think like how do they respond to this?
How do they respond? I mean, we talked a little bit about it the other day, but I think they got to keep doing what they're doing with these smaller acquisitions. I would start to naturally create new first-party teams instead of acquiring ones that are already existing. I would get seats at the table with the big players that are left, not necessarily acquire them, but we talked about what they did with From Software. They bought a 1% stake in ownership with the parent company of From Software. So now, if Microsoft tries to do anything like this, Sony will know about it before Microsoft does, really. And then, they also did the same thing with Epic Games, so like Fortnite and Unreal and stuff like that. They're heavily invested in them. I could see them becoming heavily invested in Devolver. I could see them.
Are they already? Do they have like a 5% stake or something like that in them?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't remember. I know that Devolver might have an IPO or something like that. There's going to be something that changes with Devolver this year because they had an incredibly successful IPO in the UK. Yeah. So there could be something they could continue down that path.
Let me flip it real quick, Gene, just to input here. Flip Soul's question. Do you guys think Sony PlayStation should keep doing third-party exclusive deals? Is that enough?
Let's say you've got $10 billion to spend, right? Now you can buy a Capcom or maybe a Sega, something like that, or you can sprinkle that $10 billion very carefully over thousands of specific games or hundreds of specific games over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
10 years. Mm-hmm. And I think that pays off more. But I don't know how much longer this stuff with Square Enix is going to last if Microsoft's going to spend $70 billion on Call of Duty.
Yeah, I agree.
And Candy Crush for sure.
Yeah. I know I'm being sarcastic, but yeah.
I agree.
I still want to say $69 billion.
I agree. Like, obviously, we got games like Death Stranding or Bloodborne, like, or securing like a Final Fantasy VII remake, right? Like, I want them to keep doing that stuff, because like I personally don't want this to be a goddamn acquisition war where now that Microsoft has purchased Activision, now Sony feels like they need to, I don't know, buy like a Square or a Capcom. Like, that's not what I want. I don't think that's good for our industry. So
I don't either. Yeah,
so
I don't agree.
Yeah, I would rather. I think what they're doing, focusing on teams that they have previous history with, because it feels like Sony's more like, instead of like just purchasing like straight up, publishers or whatever, they're more focused on like talent specifically. So yeah, I don't know. I rather, I like the house marks and the blue points, and then every so often let's pair up with a Kojima or a From Software to make a game together.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's like the comparisons between Sony buying studios versus Microsoft buying publishers.
Oh my God.
Is
it's so dumb.
I don't understand that, man. I really don't, and I don't think it's really a good talking point either. When people say, "Well, so PlayStation does it, it's okay because they're buying studios," right? But it's all of a sudden Xbox is bad. I'm like, that's not the same, dude. That's absolutely not, and that's not what people are really saying. People are more worried the fact of, I don't think of the creative restraint, but it's more of just kind of like what you're actually taking away from other gamers, and then that's kind of like where I feel like where the pain point really is, more than just like things being exclusive and Phil saying, well, exclusives are bad and like, or single player games are bad. Like, it's not the point, man. The point is the fact that like it was there and now it's not anymore, or it might not be anymore. I think that's what people are more worried about more than anything. With Sony's like acquisitions, it was completely different. And I only say that because those games that were on PlayStation were already on PlayStation. When they acquired Bluepoint, when they acquired Insomniac Games, what would that really change for other gamers? Yeah, and the fact they're not getting Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yeah, it's just weird that people are equating, when, I don't know, Sony bought like Guerrilla like 15 years ago when they had like, I don't know, like that Nom game that they made, and like equating that to buying a goddamn publisher. Like, I really don't understand it. But
okay, let's articulate the problem. Like, look at soda, right? You have essentially Coke and Pepsi owns everything. When you go to the store, there's Mug, Sierra Mist, Fanta, but it's all Coke and Pepsi. And fast food, it's all either owned by the the Pepsi company or some other company. KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut are all owned by the same company. And this is like McDonald's buying Wendy's, and it just feels like with these large corporations, it's an habitual race to the bottom. And yeah, sure, Phil's in charge, and yeah, sure, they are saving this company from sexual harassment. But the critical analysis is this is part of a race to the bottom. And if Sony goes out and buys Square Enix and buys Capcom, that does not. We don't all win. We don't. It doesn't. It's a race to the bottom of it just becoming two companies that run everything. Yeah, and that's why Microsoft and Sony are working very hard at keeping Apple, Amazon, and Google out of this game, because they will habitually contribute to the race to the bottom.
And I just don't think that's a sustainable arms race or business for Sony to get into. To be frank, if they were trying,
that's they're like I said before, they're with that kind of warfare, they're a small fish in a big pond. Yeah. And there's no way they're going to grow from there.
Yeah,
because they can't compete with buying a $70 billion purchase, or let alone buying EA or Take-Two. Yeah. I mean, they probably can, but is it really beneficial for them?
Right. Yeah. I mean, is it worth it? Basically, cutting off like your arm and your leg, to do that. I don't think.
And here's a great example. Apple. We just saw what Google did. That was one of the biggest companies on the planet that had tens of thousands of people pushing a game initiative, and from the top, they did not know how to run a game company. That you cannot just enter the market and compete with all of these publishers and compete with Sony, compete with Microsoft, who've been doing this for 30 years. They needed to step back and just build game development studios slowly over 8 to 10 years, right? They didn't really know what they were doing. So now let's say Apple buys Sony, and what are they going to do? They're going to have Sony Santa Monica, Guerrilla, Bend make mobile games. And that's what they would do. They would do it the next day.
That is my ultimate fear about this whole thing, and just consolidation, and a future of two, like a Tencent and a NetEase and a Microsoft owning everything, is that does that sort of it already feels like Sony's being pushed into a corner, in a way of okay, maybe now them being stubborn and not allowing Game Pass onto their platform just got a lot harder with this acquisition. But yeah, it does kind of scare me. If stuff like this continues, if Embracer continues and Tencent keeps going down their road of acquiring everything, and Microsoft does the same thing, eventually purchasing an EA or whatever, does Sony now feel like they need to get in a partnership, a closer partnership with an Apple or something? I feel like that's really bad for our industry, man. I don't know. Yeah. This isn't we're not at the monopoly thing yet, but this feels like it's definitely accelerating to that point, or it's one step closer to that point. And I don't know.
The thing is Tencent and Amazon and Apple are not playing by Microsoft's MO. So far, what Microsoft has done is that they acquired ZeniMax and they acquired Activision Blizzard, two companies already on the decline. Tencent and the other ones are looking at EA and Take-Two oh man, Take-Two's making a buttload of money with their sports games and GTA. We should scoop them up if they want to be bought.
Speaking of Embracer Group, one of the things they did that I loved was prior to being this huge monster, THQ started out by buying IP of old games. And I think that you can go to the bargain bin and you can get an Earthworm Jim for $10 million right now. And you can go get Gex for $1 million. I'm sure somebody's sitting around waiting for someone to drop a $500,000 check for the Gex IP right now, or whoever has that.
I don't think anyone wants to do that, man.
Well, I'm just saying hypothetically.
Yeah. He doesn't want you to put that. He doesn't want you to put that in the universe. That's why.
Maybe the answer is not to buy Sega or Square, but ask them, how much would it be for the Final Fantasy IP? Sure. Maybe the answer is not to, and the Final Fantasy IP does such an overreach, but I mean the Jet Set Radio IP, the Sonic Adventure IP, and I talked about this on one of the blogs, but I feel like another good acquisition would be Annapurna Interactive and Annapurna, the movie studio. That fits really well with what Sony's doing in terms of a movie studio. But is the movie studio part of Sony in the same acquisition mode as the game company? And I don't think it is. But I think that a character like Earthworm Jim would be a good, that would make for a good Sony Crunchyroll cartoon. They own Crunchyroll now. I think a Gex animated series would be something like that too. And Clay Fighter, I'm just kind of throwing things out there in the wind, but IP, it doesn't have to be these cartoon mascot characters, but like, I don't know, like a Far Cry, right? Could they go but Ubisoft doesn't know what to do with Far Cry. Could they go and get Far Cry? I don't know.
I mean, it's
listing off IP.
It's the classic thing, a recurring thing that we always hear year after year after year is Konami, right? People are always talking about Konami potentially licensing out their IP to various other studios. Here, hey, you want to do something with Metal Gear here, or Silent Hill here? Take it. Castlevania here. Go ahead and do something with it. So yeah, I think honestly that may be a better bet than Sony, and obviously a far cheaper bet than Sony outright purchasing a Konami or whatever,
Yeah, that's what kind of where it goes back to what I was saying before about if they should be making these third-party exclusive deals and stuff like that. And I think what they've done with that is that they always chose titles that reflect their brand and that you can associate with their brand. With Microsoft, it's like they're just getting things to get into Game Pass, which is obviously that's the key, right? To get things into Game Pass. But I mean, maybe it's because the old school gamer in me, where I always saw these companies as like what they were and they had their own identity. I think what Microsoft is trying to do now is they're trying to create their identity for the future going forward, and they're starting that with ZeniMax and Activision Blizzard, which is that's some ballsy move, and I gotta give respect to that.
Well, now their identity, to their credit, is like now it's no longer the shooter box. Now they're literally the home of everything with this Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
It's like now, maybe aside from JRPGs and Japanese games in general, but now it feels like
fighting
they have
games actually.
Yeah, but now it feels like they basically have like everything covered, which is pretty insane.
And let's not forget, speaking of having everything covered, Sony competes with Microsoft in the console space. Okay, Call of Duty is a huge blow, but where World of Warcraft has no bearing on Sony.
Right.
What's going on with King has no bearing on Sony. What else is them breaking off and building Crash Bandicoot exclusive games and Spyro exclusive games? It really shouldn't have a bearing on Sony. It's going to, but it shouldn't, because those games were never going to exist without the Microsoft acquisition. They're not taking anything away from Sony. I don't think that Activision was ever going to make another console game again that wasn't Call of Duty,
Yeah.
So what is Sony really losing here besides Call of Duty?
Yeah.
I mean that it sounds like it's not a lot, but that's definitely probably a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot.
But yeah, it's all very interesting. I am not excited to see how this thing evolves, because we're definitely gonna hear it at least like once every week, man.
Let this be the podcast, like the definitive podcast for the business. We're not gonna talk about it.
I will buy you guys a game of your choosing if you can guess what next week is, and related to the drama coming up again. Because I already know what it is. If you guys can guess, I will buy you a game of your choosing.
Oh man! See,
you get one guess.
Man, obviously it makes sense that this stuff would continue into next week. But I was really thinking that next week would be the week that Horizon goes gold, and that would be the big thing of the week. But man, now I kind of doubt it.
I already know what it is. It's the discourse with it, but what specifically? Come on, each of you guys give me a guess.
Specifically about Activision Blizzard?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Is it Call of Duty related?
It's everything related.
I don't even know, man. I feel like it's so broad. You can go any direction. Like,
come on, coward.
I don't know, man. I really don't know.
What about you, Macho?
Leave me alone.
Walt's trying to weed out the answers so that he can pick something different and possibly win the free game from Sheet. You dick.
Hey man, caught in 4K. What you mean?
Regrets to
it's too
Activision.
early. It's too early for a new Call of Duty to get announced. So I don't think it's anything like that.
No, I think well, I mean, I feel like the plug's gonna be pulled real quick. Again, hot take here, but Game Pass is coming to PlayStation.
I already know what it is. It's absolutely coming next week. I don't have any inside information. It's out in the public. There's something happening.
Oh shit!
Week.
Oh wow!
Wait, there's something what?
There's something happening next week. Just guess. I mean, if you guys can guess, you guys know what it is and can guess. That's going to create the discourse.
They're gonna announce their first, with this acquisition, the actual first exclusive.
I mean, they can't do
cement
that.
it.
They can't do that until the deal goes through.
Yeah,
And not until
know.
June 23.
Hey man, people be crazy. I don't know. Maybe the time machine's created. I don't fucking know.
yeah, you're
Okay,
wasting
well,
your time, man. Mine
was
is
your guess,
Game
Walt.
Pass going to PlayStation. That's my guess.
Okay.
No, I cannot believe that. A week later, Jim Ryan's like, okay.
Uh-huh.
I can't believe that.
Oh no, but it makes sense after that corporate tweet. They're like, yeah, it's gonna stay here. Boom.
No, that's
Right
something.
on Game
That's something. That's
That's going to happen. That's going to generate discourse.
that's something that they have to be in like boardrooms or whatever for weeks to parse through and see if that makes sense. There's
Have you been
no
there?
way that they can make that decision in a week.
Hey man, I don't know how long they've been in meetings, man. Because this acquisition has been a long time coming. Seems like isn't that something that gets exciting?
I'll just tell you guys.
Oh shit.
The financial calls are next week.
Oh yeah.
So there's going to be questions asked. Activision has a financial call. Microsoft has a financial call. Sony has a financial call. And they're going to have to respond to these questions. And they're going to get grilled. So I want to bet that a huge part of Sony's investor call, which they're a huge company that does cameras and TVs and whatever have you. A large part of their investor call is going to be them getting grilled about Activision and subscription models and
The metaverse.
The metaverse.
Ugh.
And the same thing with Microsoft. A huge part of Microsoft's third quarter call is going to be centered around Xbox and the acquisition of Activision and how that money is going to be laid out. People are going to ask questions about what their plans and not a lot of activity is going to happen on the Microsoft call because they're not going to be legally allowed to interfere. They probably can't even legally speak about it for quite some time. And I think that they're going to talk about Microsoft Office a lot and Azure and whatever have you. But then the Activision financial call is next week, and they're going to be able to openly, freely talk about everything, what they plan to do. They can talk about if they're going to start divesting Toys for Bob and Vicarious Visions off of their projects. They can talk about what's canceled, what's not canceled. Is Overwatch 2 canceled?
Man.
There's going to be there's going to be 3 or 4 conversations that come out of each one of these financial calls. EA's financial call, everyone has a financial call coming up, and EA is going to be asked about how this impacts them. So is Ubisoft.
I think they're scared to be honest. Like, I think this actually does affect, like, just as much as it probably affects Sony. I think this really does affect the Ubisoft and EA and Take-Two, like third parties in general as well.
Yeah. So the discourse coming from those financial calls, the tweets, the articles, the blogs, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, the arguments on Twitter, the financial calls are going to carry us through probably the next 3 weeks. and then we're going to be busy playing games, hopefully some of it subsides and stops. But then the E3 stuff is going to start coming up. We call it fake E3. It's not really going to be E3 this year, but whatever.
Yeah, for sure. But so that is that. I wanted to, like, before we get out of here, I wanted to talk about the PlayStation Wrap Up 2021. See what everybody's top 5 games were, like where I'm really curious to see where everyone spent the most amount of hours with games this year. So I'm assuming that everyone logged into their account or whatever, clicked the link, and they did that little mouse and cheese little puzzle 20 times to find out what their most played games were of the year.
Oh man, you just want to dig into my wound, don't you?
Oh, you didn't do it?
I couldn't. Yeah, for some reason, my data hasn't been registered. I'm one of those.
Go. Wall, you hearing this, man? Excuses. How convenient.
See, this is what happens when you don't be on Twitter and pay attention to your co-hosts. Because I've been tweeting about this like all day Friday, where I was highly upset. I got Astro Dummy to count my numbers and he did them wrong and didn't send me the data. Yeah, I want to know, man. I want to know my numbers.
Don't badmouth my boy Astrobot.
Yeah, he's Astro Dummy. That's the one I got. That's my cow.
Hey, put some respect on his name, man.
But I mean, if you guys know me, like obviously Final Fantasy 14 has been the most game I put into like in the past year. So
gotcha. Gene, please tell me, were you able to get yours?
Yeah, I got mine. The only bug I ran into was, at the end it says claim your prize. And I knew it was garbage. I'm sitting there clicking on claim my prize, and nothing would happen. So I'm like, oh man, I hope I didn't miss out on like a $5 gift card or something like that. Sometimes they do send those out.
Hell no.
But it was just avatars.
Yeah.
They will send those out on a rare occasion. So, but I played 48 games last year. What I noticed is none of the PSVR time I spent playing on PS5 was accounted for. Only the PS4 PSVR time. So my PSVR hours are off, and I'm probably missing a couple games and some hours of playtime. I don't remember what my total hours of playtime was, but I think it was somewhere between 400 and 500 hours. My top games were Yakuza Like a Dragon, Returnal, Lost Judgment. Oh my god! And one of them was absolutely Call of Duty World at War. So I'm not a big Call of Duty person, but my friends all got PS5s for the holidays, and that's what we played to kind of connect during the pandemic, and we would just play zombies until odd hours in the morning. I'm not a big fan of Call of Duty personally, but it's what they got.
Do you remember how many hours you spent with Returnal?
I think it was 45 hours.
Okay. Nice.
And then the last game was... I cut it off. I don't remember.
It's all good. Do you know if you spent more time playing PS5 games or PS4 games?
I spent more time playing PS5 games. I play PS4 games because sometimes, for articles, I'll rate the performance, so we'll gauge something how it runs and performs on PS4. And also, there was a long period of time there where I was doing PSVR reviews and playing PSVR games, and I didn't want to have the Octopus cables go through the PS5, so I had my PS4 set up for that.
Gotcha.
We did Sniper Elite reviews and Yuki and a couple of other games.
Nice. Yeah, mine was like 61% to 39%, leaning in favor of PS4 games, which at first I was kind of surprised with, but then I remember, I played a ton of PS4 games last year, so yeah, it made sense. But
yeah, Mass Effect, right? That was the one you put the most hours into.
Mass Effect, Resident Evil 2 and 3, Dragon's Dogma. I played a ton of games on PS4. Whoa, what about you, man?
Yeah.
Were you able to get yours?
Yeah, I was. I have a total of... I played 32 games.
Oh, okay.
Hey man, check your Twitter DMs, son. I sent you something just to prove my point.
I have 508 hours total with games. I have 32 games. Surprisingly, my number one game, and this is the same as it was seen with Call of Duty. A lot of my friends got into gaming, and I was reconnecting with a lot of them. So my number one game is Fortnite, which I play a lot of hours with them. I have 94 hours there.
Damn.
Ew.
Ew, nasty. My number two is Resident Evil Village. No surprise there.
How many hours?
46 hours on that one.
Okay.
So last year was a short game kind of year. I try to just chip away at long games, but I didn't really invest as much time because it was a busy year. Third game with 35 hours was Persona 5 Strikers. Returnal with 30, and then on number 5 I have Assassin's Creed Valhalla with 26 hours.
That's a surprise. I didn't even know you played that game.
Yeah, I remember him talking about playing it and then him liking it and then
he never talked about it
ever
again.
No, I played those 26 hours, which granted, I got intimidated with the sheer amount of shit that you have to do in that game. So I left it. I have it in the back burner for at some point I'm gonna grind away. But
Oh, you got scared?
I got scared, man. I was shaking my boots.
But did your report talk about the best gaming moment you ever had in last year between your good friend Macho?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where we were playing Dark Souls 3 and we baited that guy to come to back out at the stairwell and got him killed in the trap
Yo,
in the catacombs.
Oh,
man, we should have talked about that, man. Best gaming moment is legit. Oh man, we need to revisit some from stuff. We need to get Soul in there. I don't know, Soul's a kind of a scaredy cat when it comes to those games. I don't know.
Hey, man. I beat it. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You didn't
no
do DLC though. Yeah, exactly. We didn't do DLC. Come on,
Goddamn, why are you guys jumping at me, man?
we'll hold your hand. It's okay. We'll hold your hand.
Goddamn.
I'm sad that I only got 2 platinums last year. I'm kind of sad for that.
Oh, wimp.
Yeah, but this year that's gonna change, buddy. I'm gonna have 3.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see about that.
Yeah.
But I gotta jump out of here, fellas. Great podcast, great talks. And yeah, Gene, thanks for coming on, man. Again, I'll leave you guys for the rest of the podcast. But yeah, just enjoy your day, guys. Enjoy the week. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, for sure. See you, man.
Take care, my man.
I want to hear Souls games.
Yeah. And yeah, this will be the last thing we talk about before we get out of here as well. But yeah, so I think I spent so I spent 895 hours playing locally and then 27 hours played online in 2021.
Damn.
So yeah, like something like 900 hours in total, which is pretty
God damn.
pretty insane. 922 hours total. So yeah, my top games of 2021 were Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I spent 214 hours with with those games alone. Hitman 3 on PS5 was 126 hours.
Good God.
Yeah,
Wow.
I loved it. I loved Hitman, dude. Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen, 66 hours. Dark Souls 3, 47 hours, and then Resident Evil 2 at 38 hours. So, and then yeah, like as I was saying, 4 out of those 5 games were PS4. So, yeah, it made sense why I spent so much time on PS4 games this year. But yeah, man, it made I'm gonna be interested to see, like, what do you guys think are gonna be the games that you pour like a ton of time into this year?
Oh, easily. I have 2 answers: Elden Ring and Dying Light 2.
Yeah,
Easy.
Yeah, Dying Light 2
Easy.
is one for me, and then I think Horizon is gonna be the other for me because I think I spent like over 100 with the first game, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's a repeat of that with this one.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Horizon, I see myself pouring a lot of hours. Horizon, I don't know how big this one. I mean, it's gonna be bigger. But once I platinumed the first one, I was done with it. I see myself doing the same with this one, unless it offers a lot more, which it seems like that's the case. But specifically Elden Ring and Dying Light, I see myself doing a lot of runs of Elden Ring with some friends, doing different challenges, trying to get the platinum as well. Dying Light 2, nothing to explain there. We know why I'm going to pour a lot of hours. I'm probably going to try and complete a lot of it. Not full, not the entirety. I don't think so.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see.
Gene, what about you? Do you have any games coming up that you think you're gonna pour a ton of time into?
Yeah, I think I'm going to play a lot of Horizon Forbidden West. I think with an early release, this gives them the whole year to put out DLC. I mean, that game might only be 40 or 35 hours or something like that, whatever it's going to be. But if they put out some DLC at the end of the year, which is totally reasonable and possible, that could be a game that I end up putting 60 hours into, and we don't know how long it's going to be, but I just got a feeling it's going to be in the 40 range.
Yeah, probably.
What else is coming out this year? I probably play a lot of Gran Turismo 7, just because I'll have all year to fart around with that.
Yeah.
What else is
Are
coming
you an
out
MLB
this year
guy?
that was super- I'm an MLB guy, but not like, oh God, Matt Piscatella.
Yeah, Matt Piscatella.
Oh my God! Between the two MLB, between the 2020 and 2021 MLB games, he must have played like 3,000 hours
I
of
know.
MLB.
Jesus.
I've
Yeah.
never seen anything like it in my life. Not 3,000, it was like 2,000 hours, but
That's
that's
a lot.
that's just insane.
Yeah.
I'll play some MLB. So there'll be some discourse around MLB when that comes out.
What about Starfield for you?
I'm going to play a lot of Starfield, but that I don't think it's going to come out. And if it does, it's coming out in November.
Right.
So then you only have like a month to get all that time in when you look back. But and I'll be playing that on Xbox. There's another big game coming out this year. Zelda. I'll play a lot all of that. I'm sure that's coming out this year.
Yes, sir.
I feel like there's a big PlayStation. Do we think God of War is coming out this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. And I have a feeling that Horizon's going to be longer than God of War.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I feel
probably...
like God of War is the Horizon situation where we think it's gonna come out this year, but nah, it'll be like early next year.
I'm like 90% confident it's coming out this year.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Maybe I'll eat some crow on that, but I mean there's the whole thing of Christopher Judge saying that like the game got delayed because of his back surgery in 2019. Like he wasn't able to do anything in 2019. So like, people were complaining of, Sony putting the 2021, date on the game, but I feel like they definitely had like all intentions to release that game in 2021. But like I do feel like that whole situation with Chris Judge's back, if that didn't happen, I feel like we would already be playing this game already.
And the
Possibly.
pandemic.
Yeah, that too, of course.
Yeah. I'm
But,
accounting for the pandemic in case this year it gets out of hand again.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm 90% confident that game is coming out this year.
Yeah. I hope you're right.
But yeah, okay. So last topic before we get out of here. Horizon Forbidden West got a story trailer this past week. I'm curious to see what you guys thought about it. We got some pretty big reveals, especially towards the end. Game is obviously looking gorgeous. Aloy, it's so cool. I love in sequels, just seeing sort of like the evolution of like how characters looked in their first iteration to how they look in their next game, right? It was kind of like a similar thing of like seeing I don't know, like Nathan Drake from Uncharted 3 to Uncharted 4, just like how crazy of like an update that model got, or even Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2, like seeing some scenes from the first game redone in The Last of Us Part 2 and just seeing like the subtle differences between those two character models, right? It's kind of like the same thing here with Aloy, just seeing like, God, like the wrinkles like in her forehead is like insane, right? The subtlety of like seeing how red her cheeks are as well. I really love all that stuff. But yeah, just in general, I'm assuming you guys all watched the trailer. What did you guys think about it?
I watched it on mute because I want to avoid as much as I can from the story. I want to go in as fresh as I can. I got some context out of it. I wanted to watch it regardless, even if I didn't hear the stories, because I agree. So it looks incredible. There's a specific scene where Aloy is shown something and she like looks to the side and back, and there's just subtle expressions that this does feel like next gen. If it looks incredible. I'm excited at how returning members look. Silence looking badass as always. I can't wait for that for Lance Reddick. He's always so magnetic and so much fun to see perform. Man, the world is looking beautiful. The enemies, since it was muted, I don't know who anyone is called. There's this new female lead that she seems to be possibly the villain or something. I don't know, she looks cool. Carrie Ann Moss, man. Yeah, man. That was really exciting. But yeah, man, the what do you call it? The design of the enemies or the people, the makeup, the tribal, / technological aesthetic as from the first one. I love that. It's looking beautiful. It's looking beautiful, but I didn't get any context from the story, and I did on purpose to avoid anything, so I can go in fresh. What about you, Gene?
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm on media blackout. The Last of Us 2 was ruined for me.
Oh,
And I
no.
believe that there's a good set of trolls out there that are just replying to comments on Twitter and social media and YouTube with plot points. And I think that they can't wait for plot points to leak about Horizon so that they can spam that out. I'm on total media blackout tied to the game.
Good. That's smart.
Yeah, that's totally fair, man. That's totally fair. Yeah, surprisingly, I didn't get spoiled with Last of Us Part Two. I don't know what I did for that to happen, but I gotta do it again for this, man.
Listen, you wanna hear how I got spoiled for The Last of Us 2? I actually got spoiled without knowing I got spoiled. Okay, I assume everyone here played Last of Us 2, right?
Yep.
I saw a meme. It was a meme, but our brains, we process shit pretty quickly and we try to put one and one together, and I tried to avoid that, but I did. The meme was a golf club hitting a normal golf ball, and the golf ball had Joel's head. And I was like, what the fuck does this mean?
Yeah. There was
And then I
definitely
saw the game, and I was like, God. And when I saw Abby get the golf ball, I'm like, oh. God, fuck. So like I knew I got spoiled mid scene. I put two and two together.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to avoid some semblance of social media, although not all of it, because I try to keep up with certain things and to talk about on the podcast as well, because I love keeping up with craziness on the internet. But do that, Gene. Good shit, Gene. Keep doing that. Stay black.
Yeah, there's an Xbox fanboy who's like semi-related to our community, and he just kept tweeting out what was happening in the lead scene, and he just kept doing it over and over and over.
Yeah,
So I followed him.
I'm not surprised about that. But yeah, I'm a little bit I think I forgot where I talked about this, but I do like the emphasis on companions this time around. I said this on one of my videos. But yeah, it definitely feels more of like, like some of the strongest moments of like Uncharted or The Last of Us is like when, Joel and Ellie are bouncing off each other and bantering, or, Nathan Drake is
Nathan
with
Sully.
Yeah, with Sully, or Sam, or Chloe's with Nadine, or Guardians of the Galaxy. Those characters are always together. So I like the fact, like, Zero Dawn felt like Aloy was pretty much always alone. So I like the idea of like, okay, let's pair up, Aloy with Varl and Aaron, even though I don't I don't like any of those characters. I think they're so lame.
Really?
Yeah, Aaron is so. Who likes Aaron, man? Come on. Does anyone does anyone actually like him? That was one of my biggest problems with Zero Dawn, was that, like, aside from Aloy, Silence, and Sobek, like, I don't care about any of these side characters. I liked Talana. She was cool, but yeah, like, that's been one of my biggest sort of like things I'm excited to see, because they've been really, adamant about, like, yeah, we know that, like, that's something that we didn't do too good at with the last game, and we are definitely, trying to, correct that by, having side characters be a little bit more prevalent this time around. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see, like, can they redeem characters that I was not interested at all with in the last game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, for sure. I'm curious to see if they can do that. They made a goddamn Funko Pop of Aaron. I'm like,
Oh my god!
I'm like, who's gonna buy that? like, come on.
Someone's probably collecting all the PlayStation Pops and saying, "Come on, man."
Yeah, and they put that one to the back. So, but yeah, and then obviously, I won't get into specifics, because obviously Jane wants to keep media blackout. But the last, I'm gonna be honest, this trailer didn't do too much for me, aside from, like, man, it looked gorgeous and it's great to see Aloy again. But like, in terms of like the past, like, PlayStation Studios, like, story trailers, right? Like, I think about the Uncharted 4 story trailer. That's such a damn good trailer.
Yeah.
This one I think pales in comparison in like some of the other ones that we've seen from PlayStation. But the last, like, I don't know, like 30 seconds of this trailer was like fucking awesome. Yeah, it got my mind racing with like theories and possibilities, and that's all I will say. Um, but yeah, really excited for where this game is going story wise. It seems like it's going to be really doing some interesting things. There's a cameo from someone I was not expecting at all, which is awesome.
Well,
But yeah, that. Walt, do you want to say anything else about it?
uh, no, man, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm purposely avoiding story. It truly sometimes trailers give out certain moments that I wish are just left in the game. I'm grateful, you compare it to Uncharted and the Uncharted trailer, although it had that big set piece on, with the car and through the mud and on the bridge, hanging from the train itself and
Yeah,
crashing uh, into various obstacles. But that didn't take away from the larger experience. So,
yeah.
but
God, and
I don't know what's going on with this one,
the moment that they showed Sam and Nate walking out and seeing Libertalia for the first time, god damn, dude,
dude.
such a great
Oh
trailer.
my, that game
Um,
is so good.
yeah. But yeah, Gene, give me what's your hype level for Forbidden West? How excited are you for it out of 10?
Uh, uh, 9.5 out of 10. I'm
Damn.
Yeah, there we go.
it's so excited.
Nice. How did you like the first game? Did you do you have any major gripes with it that you're hoping the next game fixes or?
Love the first game. I love what they did with the story. I love what they did with the RPG mechanics. I love what they did with the open world. I loved what they did with the combat, how all of the robot dinosaurs are like modular and you chip away at them and you can chip away at them at different places.
Yeah.
And they've kind of got like a hidden percentage meter. And as soon as you take off like any one of the 40% of their parts, they start to kind of deteriorate. And that's really cool. They learned a lot about open worlds and about gameplay mechanics through Ghost of Tsushima, in storytelling through The Last of Us, and I think that this is going to be a culmination of something really amazing. And it's gonna look amazing on the PS5. It's not gonna have any load time. I hope it doesn't have any load times at all. I think they learned that from God of War that it'll be like a kind of like a single kind of standalone progression where it's not gonna stop ever.
Like a one shot?
I don't know about a one shot because it is a big open world RPG,
Hmm.
but I think it's going to kind of not stop. It's going to keep
Okay.
going, and as long as the side quests are meaningful, it's gonna be great. And they've had 5 years now to deliver this game, so they have a foundation, and they've been building on that foundation for the last 5 years. So there's no excuses for this not to be amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I totally agree. People keep
Can't wait to
bringing
feel.
up the whole Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2 sort of level of like boost in quality, and yeah,
Hmm.
I agree. I would not be surprised if we see something similar with this. They seem to be addressing all my issues that I had with the first game. So yeah, I don't know how I don't see a reality where this game isn't, a step up from the first game. But yeah,
For
man,
sure.
I'm
100%.
insanely excited for this game. But yeah, man, that's gonna do it for the podcast. Great discussions all around, man. I think my biggest takeaway is that like at least for me is that like yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to the whole Microsoft acquiring Activision, but there's definitely a lot to be excited about potentially for this deal and what it means for Activision Blizzard specifically, and their employees there. So yeah, man. Before we get out of here, let's get started with these outros. Gene, thank you for coming, man. Two shows in a row, man. Look, you making your little victory rounds, man. I really appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for having me. We just have the LogNet meeting on Saturdays, but any other time you guys want, or Saturday mornings is the first of the month. Any other time you guys want me to come on, I'm glad to. I love talking to you guys. I can talk about PlayStation with you guys all day.
Yeah, for sure. I feel the same way, man. You're literally welcome anytime. Walt, you got anything going on this week?
This week, getting more through these trophies on Sekiro. A lot of farming ahead, but pretty excited. Love the game. Getting through Demon Souls as well. It's a Souls kind of week. It's gonna be a Souls kind of week. Getting ready for that Elden Ring. I I probably might download real quick Horizon just to just to play for a bit, just hunt around, look at the scenery, and just soak all that in for Forbidden West and just get ready. Um, Other than that, man, nothing, nothing really much. I've been focusing on grinding away these Souls games very slowly because if I try to play them too much, one after the other, I will go crazy and I will start probably being miserable and not liking my time playing them. So as much as I'm a fan of them, I take my time. Aside from that, it's just the usual.
Nice, nice. Yeah, for me, oh man, Dying Light 2 is right around the corner. I'm a little bit nervous. People are starting to play the game, and obviously they haven't been able to say anything. But like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think our last podcast is that I really feel like this game could go either way in terms of like it being a cyberpunk situation or actually something that's really really good. I'm really crossing my fingers that it's really really good. I'm a little bit nervous for that embargo to lift, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited nonetheless. So yeah, that's gonna
For
be the
sure.
next major thing that I play. And then besides that, before that comes out, still just going through Dragon Age. Like I said earlier, now I feel like I'm into what's going on. I'm
Mm,
actually enjoying there's a large sort of like characters that you can select for the party, and I feel like I've picked out my specific group of characters that I actually resonate and vibe with, and I enjoy being around them. So yeah, that's pretty much that has definitely helped with my overall impression of this game. So yeah, I'm excited to see where we go story wise from where we left off with the whole party Empress assassination mission. Aside from that, will I ever go back to Doki Doki Literature Club Plus? I don't know. So, um,
someday,
but
someday.
yeah, someday, who knows? But yeah, besides that, nothing too much, I think. Um, but yeah, that's gonna do it for the podcast. Really nothing big happens next week. But if there's any inclination for what Gene said, then it looks like there definitely might be some things to discuss next week. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.